All right, everybody. Welcome to the Coaching Checks webinar tonight. We're so excited to welcome our partners, Your Biz Social, and our great friend, Dave Redabaugh. And I know we'll probably have some more people dropping in, but I figured let's reward everybody who's on time by being timely ourselves. So this is Ashley Ross, and I am one of the Coaching Chicks. And Cindy Bishop and I, we work as a team, and we try to offer training and real estate resources for all of our professionals out there. So welcome, and I'm so excited to welcome Dave. He's a marketing professional of 29 years, and he has literally helped thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs build their businesses by creating focused, branded, and effective strategies for being found by your ideal customer. And part of that is using LinkedIn. And Dave and I have had many conversations about the best uses of LinkedIn for realtors. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Dave. I'll come back on later and talk to everybody again. But just one short thing. Ask your questions in the chat box today. We will make sure every one of them gets answered. If we don't have an answer tonight, I will make sure they get answered later if it's Cindy or I who need to answer it instead of Dave. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll try to do this where everybody can chime in and ask their questions vocally, so it's a little more interactive. So thank you, Dave, and welcome tonight.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Ashley. This is a great opportunity, and I'm excited to be able to share this webinar, share some of my thoughts and attitudes about LinkedIn and just how it really can make a huge difference for folks especially as they're looking at 2015 and kind of setting up their strategy for how they want to be represented and how they want to position themselves on the internet. So no, I appreciate the opportunity. So with that, let me go ahead and get started with this. Like it says here, this is about, are you LinkedIn properly? And here's really what you should be able to expect from this workshop. And this is going from a lot of the folks that I've had an opportunity to share this with already. Many of them, a lot of them are realtors. And this is some answers to some of these questions are the ones that we're going to be addressing. And one of the ones I hear a lot is, how do I build a sizable and worthwhile social media audience, whether it's on LinkedIn or wherever? Things like, can I monetize my activity on LinkedIn? How do I really start getting a return on my monetary investment, but really, and probably more important than that, my investment of time? What should my LinkedIn profile look like? What should it include? What should a social media strategy look like? That's one of the questions that a lot of people really have that I've talked to is they're not really sure how to position themselves. So things like, why join LinkedIn groups? What's the value of those? The other thing we're going to talk about is what some of the advanced search options are that are actually available through LinkedIn. There really is a lot of tools and a lot of features available through LinkedIn that I'm discovering that not a lot of people are really aware of. And once you recognize the valuable, incredible, powerful tool that it is, I think people can start realizing how they can start utilizing that to represent themselves better and make sure that their brand is well represented on the internet. How can LinkedIn help me grow my brand? And that's really probably the main focus that a lot of folks are considering. And what resources are available to keep my postings relevant and engaging. That's a question that a lot of folks that I talk to, a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and realtors have is, how do I make sure that what I am putting on the internet, especially in social media platforms, how do I keep it relevant? How do I keep it something that's really going to cause people to want to engage and get involved in the conversation that I'm trying to start? So with that, let's jump into some of these things. One of the ways that I've always tried to be able to present this, and this is kind of timely because this is actually information that I pulled January of last year, and this is kind of a good benchmark for us to take a look at and say, okay, how are we doing? And it was an interesting article that was that I found called the 2014 Guide to Social and Tech for Real Estate and Professionals from 45 experts. Let me give you a description of who those experts are. There was a number of different people. They were involved in, a lot of them were social media experts, people that did that for a living, but there were a number of them that were realtors who'd found a huge amount of success on the internet and especially in social media. And these were a couple of key points that were brought out from all these people that made a contribution to this article. And one of them is I predict that there will be a big exodus from social media by many of those who've decided that their time will be better spent elsewhere. That's a really key point, because here's the thing that you find out is that there's a lot of people that are on LinkedIn. In fact, I'll share a statistic with you. Just from the area where I'm at in Northern Virginia, I did a search on LinkedIn to find out how many people within 35 miles of the zip code where I'm located, how many people had the term real estate within their LinkedIn profile. And there was 13,400 of them. So there's a huge amount of competition in a market like this and anywhere across the United States. There's a lot of people with real estate licenses. But here's part of the point with this first quote is the fact that there's a lot of people that are starting to realize, no, maybe this is not really getting what I was looking for. They were looking for a silver bullet of marketing, and all of a sudden they're putting something on LinkedIn and the phone's not ringing yet, so they're not really sure if the time invested is helping them. Well, we're going to just address that. And the next part of it says, my hope in regards to technology heading into 2014, and we can plug this same thing in for this next year, is that real estate professionals would finally understand that technology does not take the place of you. And that's to recognize that, no matter how slick we can get with how we utilize the internet, it does not take the place of that one-to-one conversation, those face-to-face relationships that are built by realtors and the people that they want to serve. So, and then finally, the beating of the start using video drum's not going to go away. Agents need to start getting in front of the camera and creating content, such as video blog posts or community tours, spotlights of local establishments, community features to create the neighborhood expert impression, or really, and this is what the quote talked about, was the neighborhood expert. But the reality is that there's a lot of realtors that I work with, that I've consulted with, that have an expertise in different areas of real estate. Maybe it's a certain type of transaction. Maybe it's dealing with a certain demographic audience. For instance, in this market area, there's a number of people that are associated with the military. Some of them have military backgrounds, and they're very ideal for helping folks out that are in a military situation looking for relocation help. So, so with those as kind of the things that people were looking forward to in 2014, I think we could probably plug in a lot of those exact same things for 2015 and say, okay, where are we at with our social media? Where are we at specifically with LinkedIn? So let's take a look at this then. Building your audience on social media platforms. Who should I connect with to build my audience? One of the things that I get a question frequently in a lot of the presentations that I've given is a lot of realtors are just a little uncertain. So many of them have lots of people who want to connect with them. And I know that, unfortunately, realtors seem to be kind of a target when it comes to marketers and advertising sales reps and a lot of different people that want to sell them something. And because of that, they're kind of a preferred audience for people that want to connect with them on LinkedIn. Here's the way that I actually approach that and the best way to answer that question is really, if you've got somebody who's trying to connect with you, take a look at their profile. See what it is that they do, what they're about. You probably do not know them, or you would connect with them. But if you're not sure, go ahead and connect. But the reality is that, and the best question to answer in this situation is this somebody that can further a relationship with, or further a transaction that I have, or be a referral partner? Is there a way that just engaging with them and finding a conversation that we can have together on the internet can be helpful in building my brand, helping me become stronger in that space. So that's really the best way to look at it. So Three ways to build your network on LinkedIn. Number one is to update your status and your profile frequently and consistently. Comment on updates from first and second connections. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that, and we'll talk about some of those. I actually have a couple of screens that I'll show you as we go through this presentation. But ask to connect with people that you may know, because therein is the thing, is it's not just connecting with those people who want to connect with you, but making an effort to go out and find people who are worthy connections for you to have, and you be the one requesting. Another thing that I've suggested to a lot of folks is really to think about your last 10 transactions that you've made, and have you connected with the title agent, for instance, the homeowner's insurance agent, any other realtors that may have been involved in the situation, the mover, any contractors, and the lawyer on each of these homeowners, the lawyer of each of these homeowners on LinkedIn. So there's a number of different people that are involved in every single real estate transaction where it can really help and benefit for realtors to be able to connect with all of those people, because especially when that transaction went well. The next part is join and be active in LinkedIn groups that are potential referral sources, and connect with group members who comment on your posts. So those are some of the key things that you want to be able to do as far as building your network. So let's go ahead. The next part is you want to make sure that you have a profile that has an impact on your audience and your search engine ranking. Okay. Ingredients of a powerful LinkedIn profile. Let's talk about these. And here's the best way to look at your LinkedIn profile is really to think in terms of advertising copy, not resume. Too often, people approach LinkedIn with the idea that what they're trying to do is build their profile up kind of like they did with a resume. Because, you know, the thing that I found is that most of us got introduced to LinkedIn as a high-class way of connecting with people when we're looking for a job. And it's so much more than that. And it's become such a great opportunity for people to really connect with like-minded individuals and grow their network. So again, think in terms of advertising copy, not resume. Be creative about the way that you use the headline to define how you solve problems. And that's something we're going to take a look at some examples. Include a well-thought-out, visually appealing summary. That's a really key part of it as well. In fact, the summary, what I found oftentimes is that's sometimes one of the pieces of a LinkedIn profile that's missing. And the summary is probably the most important part because it, more than anything else, will drive the keywords that are associated with your LinkedIn profile. So the next part is when filling in your experience, define the areas of your expertise in several descriptions. And then brag. Get big time. Brag about what it is that you do and how well you do it. Again, too often people write these things like they're writing a resume. Don't do that. Think in terms of how can I market myself? What are the things that I do that really help solve people's problems? And how can I position that so that it's much stronger and appealing to the right kind of audience? So let's take a look at it. Here's some ingredients of a really good LinkedIn headline. This is somebody that I've actually connected with, Melanie Dodaro. She is a LinkedIn expert. She's somebody that has blogs that I've gotten a lot of information on and been able to get a lot of really good, she's what I would say a mentor from a distance. But here's a couple things to take a look at, and this kind of lays it out. The first one, and you see that it's actually down at the bottom on the left. It says that a photo should always be professionally taken. Now, I know when I'm talking to a group of realtors, what I found for the most part is that this is kind of preaching to the audience or preaching to the choir, where, most of them have done a really good job of getting a good professional portrait done. But if you haven't, take the time to get that done. The other thing that you'll notice about Melanie's and really good profiles is you want to capture as much of your face as possible. So even though you've got this real good professional portrait done, crop it. Crop it so that you're capturing as much of your face, as much of your smile as you can. You want people to be able to recognize you when they see that. So the second one is that your name should only contain your name. I've seen people who plug in other stuff in addition to their name, and it's not really necessary. You really want to focus in on just your name, because again, you're thinking in terms of the fact that really the LinkedIn profile is probably one of the most dynamic and powerful websites that a person can actually have, especially when you consider the price. They're free. So it's just sweat equity in building this thing. So the third part then is your headline. It should be catchy and have keywords that you want to be found for. So you look at Melanie's. She talks about, the media calls me Canada's #1 LinkedIn expert. It has nothing about her title, the company that she works for. It tells you what she does, the problems that she can solve. She does social media marketing for business. She's a social media speaker. Not once have we even determined what the name of the company is that Melanie represents. You see that farther down. That's part of the profile, but it's not the most important part, and that's what that headline is. That headline is a place for you to really say, this is the problems that I can solve and the way that I can help solve those problems for people that I work with. The next part is reach at least 501 connections for social proof and extending your network. The idea behind that is, if you spent any time on LinkedIn, you'll recognize that it says the number of connections that you have. If you have less than 500, it tells the exact number. If you have 501 or more, it says 500 plus. So we're not sure if Melanie has 501 connections or 28,200. It really doesn't make any difference at that point, because she's reached that pinnacle, if you will, of bragging rights on the number of connections that she has. Now, I would also say, going back to talking about these connections, make sure that those people that you are connecting with are going to be good connections, that they are people that could be potential referral partners for you. So you want to make sure that your audience is people that are engaged and serious about what they do. So let's move on here. And here's what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about that next piece that shows up on LinkedIn right underneath the headline that we were just talking about with your picture. And that's called the summary. Okay? Your LinkedIn summary really is the most important place where someone can differentiate themselves from their competitors, using keywords and content that separates you from the crowd. That's really the way that we want to take a look at this. And one of the things that I've always told people is, don't, quite honestly, with anything that you do on the internet, especially in LinkedIn, because you could put a lot of information in there, you should never type it into LinkedIn. You should use a Word document, take what you're going to do, think about it, make sure you've crafted the message carefully, make sure that you've had a chance to get it spell checked and grammar checked and those types of things, so that when you actually take it, copy and paste, and put it into your LinkedIn profile, then it's going to be exactly what you want. So that is the thing to recognize about it, is that if you think about when you've searched for people by name, when you've searched for an individual and typed their name into Google to look for them, normally one of the first things that shows up, at least in the top couple of results, is going to be their LinkedIn profile. And because of that, it's really important that you first of all have a good LinkedIn profile, that it's well put together, that it sells you the way that you want to be sold, that it basically enhances the brand of who you are as a realtor. So how you communicate in the space really does make a difference between professional success on LinkedIn or just being stagnant. So let's look at mine. I've taken some time to carefully put mine together. It's been that way, and I do tweak it from time to time. But let's go ahead and take a look at it real quickly here. This shows gives you a quick idea as far as, and let me see if I can make this a little bit larger. Not going to get too much larger, but anyway. Internet marketing talks about me being an internet marketing strategist, gaining results with your online presence, a social media trainer and speaker. So those are some of the key parts that it has. The next thing is the summary itself. What this is, what you have to recognize is that you have 2,000 characters available to focus on how you solve problems for the people you serve. Be direct, engaging, creative, and personal. Ask questions. Use keywords that are search friendly to the audience you want to attract. Use bullet points to make the visual part of reading this much easier. That's really a key part of it as well. Is break it up. Don't just have one big long paragraph. Break it up into smaller portions. Use things like, I've got some of these the diamond shapes and little shapes and things like that, bullet points that you can use to kind of separate information and make it a little more visually appealing. Incorporate your website and your email address. And then finish with a strong call to action. That is really key. So as you look at it, that's pretty much what I've tried to accomplish. The other thing is that there's a lot of information that you can plug into your LinkedIn profile. For instance, I have this presentation is actually part of my LinkedIn profile. I have it loaded in as an Adobe Acrobat file so that people can just download it if there's information that they would still like to pull off of this. So the next thing talks about advertising your experience. Don't resume it. As you look at it, basically what I've done is, for instance, in my experience, I don't just talk about the fact that I'm the Chief Solutions Officer for Your Biz Social, which I am, and I point that out. But what I do is I talk about what it is I do in that role to solve people's problems, how I help them. The other thing you'll notice is that I'm trying to make sure that I've got my website in there at least once. Sometimes I'll try to plug it in more than once if I can. But the other part is that I also break off that part that I do as a speaker and a trainer. Still part of the same experience, but you can break up your resume. I've seen people that will basically take their current experience and define themselves because of expertise that they have in several different parts of and problems that they can solve. They break that up into maybe 3 or 4 different categories, and every single one of them is listed as the date you started until the present time. And every single one of those you're able to trumpet and brag on the things that you do in that particular role that separates you from your competition. So the next part then we're going to talk about here is just as likely the most powerful and flexible website available on the World Wide Web is your LinkedIn profile. And my question here is, are you taking advantage of its capability? And let's really take a look at that, for instance, because first of all, it's really very easy to use, especially when you know your way around it. The other thing is it's very easy to put information on there. But probably the most important reason why is because there's so much available that you can do and stuff that you could put in here. Here's what I want to use as kind of an example. And this is a lady that I've kind of picked as another mentor. But I did a search for LinkedIn expert on Google. And this lady, who we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you a couple statistics about her profile here in a second. This lady showed up in 4 of the top 8 ranked position on the first page of the search results on Google. Let's see how she uses her LinkedIn profile. Her name is Vivica von Rosen, and she is one you may want to take a look at what she does have there, because there's some really, really good information that she has on her profile. But here's what you find out, is that she is, first of all, she is a very well-respected LinkedIn expert and author. She knows how to use space to tell her story very effectively. Here's what I found, is you take a look at her profile and kind of pick it apart, see what she has in there. And one of the things that I did is I actually copied and pasted her entire profile into a Word document. And here's what I found. First of all, she has 31,172 followers. Okay, that's pretty strong. That's really strong. She has 3 podcasts that are loaded into this profile. She has 23 different articles that she's got that people can access and download and take a look at. She's got 16 different videos, ranging from a minute and a half in length to one that's actually a half an hour long. She has 6 books that are available to be either previewed. In some cases, they're free internet books, ebooks that you can download. But she has 6 books that are included in her LinkedIn profile. She was endorsed 99 plus times in 25 different categories. She has 87 written recommendations. And there's a key point that we're going to stop on for a second. People recognize the fact that they have endorsements. And that's just a list of those things that you put in categories of the way that you approach your business and the areas that you excel. And you want to maximize that. You want to be able to take advantage of plugging in something into all 25. The other thing is that sometimes people ask, well, how do I get endorsements? Well, the best way to get endorsements on LinkedIn is to give them. So give them out to people. The other thing then is endorsements, as strong as they are, as helpful as they are as kind of positioning you as an expert, they're not nearly as strong as a written recommendation. And that is really a key part of this whole thing, is to make sure that you're getting written recommendations on as well. Now, here's what I found out. When I did the copy and paste into a Word document, here's basically what it gave me. 62 pages in a Word document, and that included 10,876 words. That's a pretty powerful piece of internet real estate that we can take advantage of, and to really be able to position ourselves and brag about what we do and how we do it better than anybody else. So take advantage of it. There's really a lot of opportunity here on LinkedIn. Next step is where do you engage on LinkedIn? And that's another question that I have, is how do I really do this so that it's not just eating up my time? How do I do it effectively so that I know that when I'm in LinkedIn that I'm able to go to the places that really make sense, and really where I'm able to engage with people in an effective way, okay? And if you look at basically the toolbar that's involved with LinkedIn that each one of us has, we have a home page, and on the home page it includes a couple of things. Always the first piece that you see, and this is what shows up as the news feed. This is the information that is getting fed into LinkedIn throughout the day. The first piece is always an article from Pulse. Pulse is LinkedIn's e-magazine, if you will, okay? There's always some really, really great articles that are on Pulse. So it's a really good place to be able to grab some information. It's a good resource to get some good content from time to time and share it in other social media spaces. Take a good Pulse article and post it on your Facebook page. Put it into Google+. So anyway, you can find some really interesting things there. The next one is the space that's just called your profile. And that is where you edit your profile, where you can update it, where you can make changes to it, where you can upload your videos, where you can upload your newsletters, upload copies of maybe a blog that you've done. If you are doing a podcast or webinars, things like that, like we're doing now, where you can take those and attach links so that they're associated with your profile as well. Those are some of the edits that you can make. So that's another thing, is constantly be taking a look at how can I improve my profile? How can I more effectively use this space to position my brand, to show people how good I really am at what I do? So, okay. David, let me go ahead and stop and take a look here. Do you have examples of a good and bad LinkedIn page for realtors, and why they are good and bad? That is a really good question. You know what? I don't necessarily have examples. I can share a couple of names of some people that I have actually coached that have used some of the principles that we're talking about here, though. Let me go ahead and type in a couple of names for you for some people that This is one that has been very effective with what he's done and has actually utilized that space. Another one. Let's see. And boy, I'm going to struggle with how to spell her name. So you know what? I'm not even going to go there. But those are two really good examples, though, David, of some of the ones that I've actually coached in the past that have taken advantage of some of these things, and they are starting to grow their network much more effectively. So let's see. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have another one here, and I need to actually give you a little more information with her because she's a mortgage professional and this is how you may have to look for her because she's got a name where there's quite a few of Charlene Joneses on on LinkedIn. I will share her as well. She's another one that I did some coaching with, and she's kind of redesigned a lot of what she's doing. So good question, though, David. I appreciate that. The bad ones, you know what? I don't think it's hard for you to figure out which ones those are. I know you probably can. They're the ones that have that little white outline, gray background, that meaningless person as their LinkedIn profile picture and really don't have much information. The other thing that you'll find out, David, that I've found are probably weak ones are ones where their summary is completely missing. It goes from the top profile and it goes directly into them describing what their experience is. So hopefully I've given you some good examples there. But anyway, so we're talking about the next space then after your profile is connections. And this is where there's an opportunity on that connections tab in LinkedIn to be able to make new connections. LinkedIn does a really good job of offering up suggestions for people you may want to connect with, suggestions for companies you may want to follow or people you may want to follow. It will offer you a lot of times groups that you may want to be engaged with, that you may want to get involved with. So there's some really good suggestions that LinkedIn will make as you look at this, specifically this page on connections. So this is a place for you to make new connections. This is also a place to find out who are the people that are looking for you. How many visits have you had to your profile? That's bragging rights. You know, sometimes I remember the first time I started seeing that is people that I didn't know that were looking at my profile, and that, you know, the first time I saw that I thought it seemed a little bit creepy, and then you realize no, that's really what this is all about. That's what this space is really all about, is connecting with people who you may or may not know, but when they're wearing their professional hat, that's what they're doing in the LinkedIn space. So this is where people are dealing with each other as professionals, and that's one of the things that really separates it and separates the kind of connections that you can make on LinkedIn. So, so there we have, we're talking about making new connections, and the other one is that's a really good space for you to be able to engage with the existing connections that you do have. So in other words, those people that you have started developing a relationship with on LinkedIn, what you will find a lot of times for those of you that can think through when you've been on that particular page in LinkedIn, it will give you things like, you know, some person is celebrating a work anniversary. Say congratulations to them. Somebody celebrating a birthday. Somebody got a new job. And what it is it's anytime there's those updates are made and things are added to a person's profile on LinkedIn, those things are brought to attention so that we can all brag on those folks and we can say congratulations, or we can, you know, pat them on the back, so to speak, from a distance and do it in that LinkedIn space. And that's really one of the easier ways to be able to connect on LinkedIn, is to be able to just engage with people and to let them know that you recognize that they're celebrating an anniversary, or they have a birthday of some sort, there's something else that's going on that they can brag about, and so you can brag with them. The other thing that I do is LinkedIn always makes it really easy, and they'll just make it so you can hit a button and say congrats, and I try to avoid doing that. I really do. I try to take time to really write out something personal. It doesn't have to be long. It might be only a sentence. But the reality of it is that people will recognize pretty quickly that, yeah, this guy took a little more time than just hitting the button. So those are some of the things you do on the connection space, and that's probably one of the more important places because that's where you're connecting specifically with individuals. The next tab, then, the next toolbar, or next part of the toolbar, is interests. And there's several things that are on that interests page. First of all, there are companies where there are suggestions with companies that you can link with. You can connect with any company that you really want to. You can follow them, is what it's called. So, but that's one thing that for realtors who find that a good, strong connection with, for instance, the human resources department of a large employer in an area that is constantly recruiting outside of the area and bringing talent in. Well, those people need a place to live, and they need to have a realtor to work with. And a lot of times those folks, those human resources departments, have people that, are responsible for helping with that relocation. And that's where realtors can fill a need. Those are some problems that you can solve. So those are companies you may want to engage with. Think about some of the large employers in your specific area and how you can help those folks in that relocation process to make it smooth and easy and give you an opportunity to kind of show off what you do and how you do it well. The next part is groups. And we're going to talk a little bit more about groups here in a second because I've actually got a slide or two about groups to talk about some of the ones you want to engage with. So we're going to hold off on that for a second. The next part, like I said, is Pulse. And that, again, is the LinkedIn e-magazine, online magazine, where you have an opportunity to really see what's going on within the LinkedIn universe. And it really is a news item. I mean, it'll talk about news events that are happening throughout the day. But most of it really is focused in on social media and the internet space. And the last one is education. That is a place for us to connect with those people that we've gone to school with in our past. It's always interesting to me to find out how many alumni from a specific school, where some of these people are, what they're doing, and how many of them can actually become very good referral partners for me because we share that like-minded interest. We both went to the University of Northern Colorado, and that's bragging rights, and that's something that I can talk about. So, and we can relate with each other about. So there's an opportunity that exists for each of us when we talk about the schools that we've been part of. So those are the places. That's where you want to engage on LinkedIn. The reality of it is that if someone took 15 minutes a day to just get into each one of those spaces and just do a little bit, honestly, you don't even need to get into all of them, but to go into the ones that really make the most sense for you and where you're finding the best engagement, where you're finding the best network of people and the best connections, where you're learning the most. And those are the things you really want to be able to do with this. So let's move on. Let's talk about why groups, okay? So groups can be the best place to build your connections on LinkedIn. And there's a couple of good reasons. Groups really are a powerful way to do that. Here's the way to really look at what groups really are. Groups contain large amounts of highly targeted prospects, okay? And that's really because of the nature of what LinkedIn is. Again, going back to it, LinkedIn is the place where professionals deal with professionals. In fact, the statistic is it's the largest number of people that you engage with on there, the largest percentage of people who would tend to be decision makers in the companies that they work for, which is a pretty powerful tool and a pretty powerful audience when you think about that. So they are highly targeted prospects. The next thing is people in groups are genuinely more interested in meeting other people. That's the reason they're there. That's the reason they specifically went out of their way to join a specific group. For those of you that have never been part of a group, you really want to take a look at it and look at the places in LinkedIn where you can join groups. For instance, I'll give you a good example. This one gentleman that I typed his name in, Greg Nemhart, is a former military. He's a soldier, and that's his background. And his specific area of expertise is being a military relocation specialist. So when we were taking some time sitting down, going through LinkedIn and showing I was showing him some of the tools, he was able to find, I think it was like 6 to maybe 8 different very powerful military relocation groups that weren't just realtors. In some cases, they were moving companies, they were mortgage professionals, they were anybody involved in relocating the military from one place to another. And they were the professionals that could help in that space. And what Greg was able to do was able to join some of these groups, and now it gives him an opportunity to be an expert voice in that space. When you consider the fact that he's an expert voice specifically in the Washington, D.C. market, which is a great area for that. So it really gives Greg a chance to brag about what it is that he does and how he can help those people specifically. And those groups, what they do is they take time to pass articles, share comments. A lot of times the best way to engage or start an engagement, start a conversation, if you will, in a group is to ask a question, to pose a question to the group and let people just answer it. And it's fun to see the way that people will engage in that and the kind of responses that you get. And you can learn some very valuable things, and you can make some great connections within that environment. So groups give us that opportunity to be able to be positioned as a thought leader, to really show our expertise in a given area. The other part that's nice about groups is LinkedIn doesn't require that you enter an email if both of you are members of the same group to be able to connect with somebody. So if you've found somebody who's put some interesting stuff up in the group, has had some good comments, you found, wow, this is a pretty thoughtful person. This is somebody I'd really like to be able to engage with and have a little more conversation with and get to know them and maybe find out a little bit more about their business and what they do. This is the place you do that. And because you're a member of the same group, you don't even have to know what their email address is to be able to connect with them as a first connection on LinkedIn. So that's another reason why they're a really powerful tool. So moving on then. Now we're going to talk about developing a LinkedIn LinkedIn strategy. LinkedIn is a tool, and as with any tool, unless it's used with purpose, correct application, and discipline, it won't provide much help to the job you're employing it to do. Decide on what you want from social media, not just LinkedIn, but all the platforms that you want to be active in. Decide, then dedicate yourself to a time commitment for pursuing that strategy and do it consistently. That's the biggest thing that I've found is you want to be consistent with it. I find myself, one thing that I need to be able to do is discipline myself not to get over involved with social media. But I've tried to just dedicate myself to being able to take about 45 minutes. Sometimes I will do as much as an hour, but once I get to over an hour, then I know I've spent too much time there and it's time to get out. But to be able to know that I've taken that much time to be able to use those spaces as best that I can to promote my brand. The next point that it has in here is understand that the results will not be immediate, especially if you're not connected in a strong way yet. There's professionals who can help you with this strategy. That's part of what I do. Is I help coach and train and work with folks to help them be much more effective in these spaces. So I can help develop a strategy, help develop an implementation for it, and then can shorten its learning and results curve considerably. This is a really great quote that I would like to share at this point because of the fact that we're talking about strategy. And that's Winston Churchill once said that however beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results. And the bottom line is that there's lots of tools that are available to be able to see what you're actually doing and how effective you are at it. And it's important that we do that. So now we're going to talk just real quickly about the advanced search function to me, I found it to be one of the most, that it's a very, very powerful prospecting tool. And we're going to talk about one way that we can employ this tool that's available on LinkedIn. Because you consider the information that LinkedIn is finding out about who we are and what we want to tell people about who we are, what we do, how we're better at it than anybody else, and a lot of the things about our background. So here's the thing: is when you're able to follow a company through LinkedIn, where you can be up to date with the company through status updates and receive notifications when an employee makes a move. So going back to the situation, talking about using LinkedIn to connect with some of these companies that may be large employers that are needing the services of somebody who's a relocation specialist. So LinkedIn gives you the ability to link to out to your website, the blog site, or other website that you choose. The advanced search option. So say you want to connect with the HR department of a major employer. So here's what I did: is you look at it and you look at the LinkedIn profile, and right there at the top is where it says advanced. So you go to that spot, and here's what you can do. Is what I wanted to do is type in, as you can see here, human resources. The company was AOL, who still have a large presence in Northern Virginia. I put the zip code where they're located and put within a 35-mile radius. So what I was trying to find was people that that I can connect with or part of the human resources department. Well, what I did is, if you notice up here on the relationship, I did not connect with first connections. I took that little box, I clicked out of that box, and just wanted to have second connections and group members. So here's what I was able to find out then, is there was 125 results for people that had human resources in their name, and that were part of, or had AOL as the company that they represented, either now or maybe in their past. Okay, so here's the one that I found that was most meaningful: was Daryl Zopitny. He's a vice president of global talent acquisition and talent management at AOL. Sounds like probably the right guy to connect with based on the title that he has there. So, and you can see that I have one shared connection with Daryl. So let's go ahead and take a look at this then. What this is this, then I go directly to Daryl's profile, and right on the side of that button that says send Daryl an email is a little drop down arrow that allows me to pick somebody that's a shared connection. So these are the people that have a shared connection. Dan Purdy is somebody who's a close friend. Like I say, he's a confidant. Somebody we've worked together in the past, actually with two different companies. So he was somebody that I really trust. I knew that he spent some time at AOL, so I knew he would be a good connection to be able to introduce me to Daryl, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's an opportunity to do that. So what this does then is I click on that box, it allows me to go to Dan Purdy, and then, I'm actually able then to ask Dan to introduce me to Daryl. So that's exactly what this is about, is to be able to do those. Okay, so let's get to a couple places here real quick. The next thing, as far as a tool on LinkedIn that does get underutilized, is tagging your relationships, okay? And if you look, I just took the bottom part of one of the connections that I have, and you'll notice that when you click on relationship, it actually opens up a couple of different places. You can attach a note, you could put a reminder, I can put in how I specifically met that person, or I can tag them and actually define the relationship that I have with them. So this is another underutilized tool that really helps you make a more meaningful connection with people. So here's another piece that I wanted to share with people that a lot of folks don't even know is one of the features about LinkedIn is you can actually download your contact list into a spreadsheet for use with favorite email contact program, Constant Contact, MailChimp, something like that. And here's where you find it. On that tab called Connections, you go to that, and over on the far right-hand side is that little settings circle. And when you click on that, what this allows you to do then on the page that shows up on the right-hand side, there's a spot that's called Advanced Settings. And it takes you to this, And on that spot there, it says you can export your LinkedIn connection. So you could click on that button, and literally what it does is it allows you to be able to take your whole entire all of your connections and download them into either an Excel or a CSV file. And then it also designates all those tags that you have. It has the title that they have. It has all of the information about those contacts so that you can actually have targeted emails that you can send specifically to those people about whatever topic that you may want to have, some sort of a targeted email campaign. So we're going to hit on this real quickly because I know we're kind of running short on time now. But one of the things that I did want to share is tools to build your content library. And that's something that I really recommend people get a chance to do, is start building a content library, a library of resources that you can access that have articles, videos, and any content that inspires information or allows you to be inspired for the stuff that you can put on the internet, whether it's in a blog or newsletter, articles that you're putting out there, social media shares, posts, things like that. One of them that's a real powerful one is alltop.com. The thing that makes alltop.com is it really does resource a lot of areas of the internet, gives you lots of information available, so you can type in a specific topic and it will give you lots of articles and videos and things like that. But more important, you can become one of the contributors. When you sign up with Alltop, become a contributor, there's no cost involved, but it gives you an opportunity to share your information and become one of those people. Wikimedia is also very valuable. It's a database of nearly 20 million freely usable media files to which anyone can contribute. You can add images, sounds, videos, all types of things. And the last one is one that a lot of people, I found, some people know about it, some people don't. The reality is it's a really valuable tool. You consider that Google is the 900-pound gorilla in the search engine world. You want to take advantage of them. So you can set up with your Gmail account Google Alerts, which allow you to pick a specific topic, and that Google will basically load that information for you to say, this is exactly what these are the articles and all the information that's on the internet today for those specific things. So it's a really good way to resource stuff. You want to be creative about how you get that information sent to you, but it's a really powerful tool. So just as some final thoughts, and we can get into some questions here. Hopefully I haven't used up all the time, but LinkedIn, like any relationship building tool, requires patience, consistency, and probably most importantly is effective listening skills. If you put something out there, you want to make sure that you're paying attention and listening to it. So don't expect overnight success. It's not a silver bullet. Be consistent about posting. Connect with 5 people a week. That's a really good goal. Make a list of the 10 most influential people that you want to connect with and engage with them. Measure your response is so critical. And if you're not on Google+, get on it. And social media is not a new tool. It's something that we've been doing and using for a long time. It's just the methods that we're able to access it now are just so much more powerful than they ever were in the past. So anyway, with that, thank you very much. We can go ahead and open it for some comments, questions.
All attendees are unmuted.
Okay, so that means anybody who has a question can ask it.
Okay. I'm not hearing the question. Ashley?
Yeah, I'm here. So does anybody have a question for Dave?
Oh.
Okay. Well, I did give out the emails, so you can always contact myself or Cindy and Dave at yourbizsocial.com. Is always happy to answer questions. And, at the Coaching Chicks, we always say there are 3 things that you can do, and it's up to you how you do it. And the first one is do nothing, and that's okay. We're not always in a place to do something to move ahead or to engage in a new project. The other thing you can always do is you can go to thecoachingchicks.com and you can sign up for marketing toolkit videos. You can sign up for all of our webinars and our live radio shows. And number three, probably the most important move you can make for 2015. You can email Cindy, you can email Dave or myself, and you can get, Cindy gives out free 30-minute coaching calls. You can sign up for social media coaching with Dave directly, and get some help by getting your branding, your voice, develop your content while you're online, and that's what we're here for. Any closing thoughts, Dave?
No, I've enjoyed this. I appreciate everybody being here, and hopefully this has been beneficial to you. I know I enjoy sharing it, and I guess if anything, just to know that this really is an incredibly powerful tool, and you just need to be able to get into the space and find out what an amazing tool it really can be. So,
excellent. And Dave, we look forward to having you come back on. I forget when you're scheduled again, maybe next month, maybe the month after, and sharing more social media information for all of our friends and coaching clients out there. And I want to say thank you so much for taking your time. And everybody else who's on here, thank you for taking your time to join myself, Ashley Ross, and the Coaching Chicks, and helping us create a very professional relationship with our clients and help us all succeed. So thank you very much.
Outstanding. Thanks, Ashley.
All right. Thank